Okay, well, welcome everyone. I'm delighted that you're here on the Create Extraordinary Community Building Events Summit, and I am absolutely thrilled to be introducing my next guest expert to you. This is Colleen Biggs. Colleen is a 22-year business strategist who empowers business leaders to expand their influence to attract the right clients and drive more profits. She has launched over 340 businesses. She is a sought-after keynote speaker. She's the author of 7 international best-selling books, including her latest, which is Step into the Spotlight to Expand Your Influence. She is the CEO and founder of the LEAP community. I'm going to be asking her about that in this interview. And she was awarded the top 10 women business leaders of 2021 and the most inspirational leaders in business 2023. Colleen provides women with a community of entrepreneurs that take the leap daily and realize that their network is their net worth. Colleen, welcome. I feel like I need to buckle up a seatbelt before I read that. That is an impressive list of accomplishments.
Usually everyone says that, not when they read that, but they say I need to buckle up because my energy is so high, So this is definitely going to be a very high energy time for you and I to share with all of the attendees that are listening. And I'm really excited. I'm super passionate about tribe and community, what it means to me, what it means to every human. And so when you talk to me about tribe, I was like, I'm in, because I love everything about tribe.
Yeah. Well, I think that the high energy and the high list of accomplishments, it's not an accident. So, so I'm delighted. And yes, just to let everyone know, there are 4 pillars that I'm using as foundation for this summit. And they are very quickly, it's important to have the right stage or platform. It's important to have the right tribe. And that's what we're going to focus on today with Colleen. It's important to have the right engagement for your people. And finally, it's important to have the right monetization strategy. Mm-hmm. So none of that really happens if you don't have the right tribe. I mean, really, your efforts will go nowhere. It'll just be really a lot of work. And just before we dive into that, though, Colleen, I'd love for you to share a little bit with our viewers about your journey, because you didn't go from 0 to 10,000 where you are now overnight. So what was the path that you took, and what was the motivation initially that made you think, I just feel like I want something more here?
Yeah. And my story is not your typical, you hear a lot of, well, during the pandemic and, I found myself without a job, or that was not me. Like I was going 185 miles an hour during the pandemic because I'm actually a corporate girl. And most people don't know that about me that have met me in my entrepreneur world, because they're like, how could you ever be in corporate, right? Like, how could you ever follow a rule or do it a certain way? And I said, I'm a different person today than I was back then. But if it wasn't for the growth, the skill sets, and everything I learned about negotiation tactics, the mentors that I had that were men during that time in corporate America, I don't think I would be the successful entrepreneur I am today, because I needed a lot of adversity. There was a lot of adversity with working with other high-powered women. It's not like you get today, Kip, you and I, could probably collaborate on so many different things, and we would both just be beaming from ear to ear. In corporate America back then, it was like, who's got the arrow in my back today? And so that really hurt me a lot. I'm really this kind and gentle and sweet and loving individual. And it's why I was so good at being a business consultant for so many years. I was a business consultant in corporate America. I learned how to negotiate, like I said, contracts. I learned about, facilities and design and brand and everything, staffing, sales, you name it. I learned it during that time. So during that time, I also realized that the lovingness that I gave to my clients, the trust that they had in me, the trust I had in them, the kind of context of understanding that I, say that I'm going to stick to my word. You say you're going to stick to your word, makes the conversations easy. There's no hard conversations. I brought out what was best in each one of them, and for them to see it themselves and apply that to launching their brand new businesses. So it's no shocker that I could do hundreds of these over and over again with these amazing amazing entrepreneurs because they believed in themselves. And so once they had a clear, view of the steps, like climbing Mount Everest, right? Once we have the tactical gear and we have the map and we have the guides there and they have all of everything we need, and they're telling us what we're doing from point A to point B, day 1 and day 2 and day 3, then we can really get there. But if you were to just jump on that mountain by yourself, not being prepared, could you imagine the amount of deaths that would happen? And making it to the top probably wouldn't happen no matter what mountain you were climbing, So again, that's kind of my story on how I got here. So when I birthed out of corporate America and decided it was time for me to retire, I actually did that after I started my community, because selfishly, just secret between you and I needed a community of women that I felt was going to support me in a positive manner coming out of corporate America, where I was doing something hard, where I was doing something new, where I was going to be scared and have self-doubt. Just like all of the business owners I worked with, I needed women that were going to be there to be like, you got this, and let me support you, and I can introduce you to this person or that person and help me network and get where I needed to go. So I started attracting women like me, Kip, women that wanted to serve other women, women that weren't afraid of competition, because I'm not a competitor to anyone else because they're not me. They don't possess my wisdom, my experience, my knowledge, the time that I've been doing what I do. So because of that, I felt confident in who I was, but I still needed women to continue to remind me that I was on the right track, that I could do this, and I wanted to be in this circle of women that were building businesses too, not someone who had a paycheck in corporate America and they had no idea what it was like to get out there and hustle for, 100% commission in everything in your business. I needed women that were understanding of what I was going through every day. So I just started creating that. And unlike most people, I kind of went to the extremes. I flew around to 10 different cities and states and, created luncheons and brought in leaders and did all of that to really get out there and get my name recognized and get the community out there. So that was the start. And that was back in 2019 when it launched. And then it was probably a year later or so after that I finally decided. It was during the pandemic, later in the pandemic, the second half of the year, where I saw a lot of women struggling in their businesses, struggling to generate income. And I saw all these opportunities and they just weren't seeing them. And I finally just asked a couple of women, like, do you need help? Do you want me to coach with you? Do you want to work with me? Because I can solve these problems for you. And I got a resounding yes from a lot of women. And so that kind of launched then my continued career of coaching and consulting businesses in the strategy so that they could plug the holes where they were bleeding. That's kind of how it started, so they could generate more income. And then as I grew my brand with this community and figured out the keys to expanding my influence to where I was only attracting the right clients, then I started teaching other women how to do that, and which led me to writing my book and teaching workshops on your network is your net worth. It's all about being seen and being visible. And if, there's so many ways we can do that. But I find that a lot of the women I work with, they love to network. They love to get out there. They want to meet people. So I teach a lot, and my community supports visibility for brands. Yeah.
There's so much in there that we could unpack. We'd need several hours. But I do want to highlight a few things, and we'll circle back to a couple of them. I mean, I think what I'm hearing you say is, I think your success, and really the success of any other really high level, high vibe leader like you, is that you understand the importance of relationships. And this is probably one of the biggest factors in what's called the new feminine paradigm, this sort of new way of working. And it's not a down with men message in any way. It's just it's an alternative for us, because you've acknowledged the support you had from male colleagues and mentors.
Yeah.
And we've all had that probably. But it's just, maybe it's not the competitive environment. It's not this kind of zero-sum game that many people engage in the corporate milieu. It's really more about collaboration and relationships and compassion. And you exemplify that so beautifully. So I'd love to learn a little bit more, because you are obviously brilliant at creating community, but it's not just about having a community.
That's right.
It's creating the right community. It's creating my community, you creating your community. So I'd love for you to speak into that a little bit, and maybe share any insights you have around how one can best go about doing that, because there's nothing worse than putting in a whole lot of work at an event and then afterwards just getting crickets because the message is not landing, or
That's right.
the connections aren't there. So what can you share about that with everyone?
I'm glad you said that. I just came a week and a half ago, and I'm glad it was a week and a half ago because then the hurricane hit. I was in California. I go over there every quarter for a women's breakfast with a friend of mine, and I was asked to come speak to a Go Girls luncheon. It's all women in Farmers Insurance agents. So this is a great example of how you can create similar community of people around you that are having similar challenges in the similar industry. That did not exist. One lady decided to put it together because she said, if we could get together and talk about what's happening and how we can help each other and teach each other, ones that have been in this business for 25 years to the ones that are here 2 years brand new, then we're going to be able to have the growth of women as agents in the insurance industry explode. But we have to bring others in. So that's one example. And when I stood in front of them that day, I want your listeners to know today, the number one thing I said to them was, you're not in the business of selling insurance. You're in the relationship business. And I think that's what we need to remember, Kip. And it was I actually feel, going way back in my days in corporate America, men are absolutely the best at this. They always know who to call. There's always someone that they know that they can refer somebody to. And so they always got a guy, right? I got a guy. I really learned that from them, going to these networking events where I was the only woman in the room. Right? Most of the time, I was the only woman amongst all of these men in the room for the rooms I was in. So I learned from them how to create relationships. Relationships are what I call social capital. You deposit into that social capital on a regular basis. And as you build those relationships, you need to nurture those relationships. So when I came out of corporate America, I had nurtured so many relationships with people that had offered me opportunities to come in and speak at their conferences now that I was in a different position. And they're like, you're perfect for this. It offered me opportunities to go in and teach workshops. I can truly say today, most of the money I receive from keynote speaking, from workshops, from anything where larger Fortune 500, where the cities are hiring me, insurance agencies are hiring me, all come from referrals, which are the relationships I nurture. And that becomes the person that knows me now. Instead of like, I know someone. How many people do you think need to know you so that they can refer to you? So we should be able to write down a list of 5 or 10 of those people that you're like, I wish this person knew me. And then I say, get out there and reach out to them on LinkedIn, find ways for them to get to know you so you can nurture those relationships. Because just because they might not be in the similar industry of you, like, I'm not just going to nurture relationships with anyone who's a business consultant, right? I'm going to nurture relationships with marketing consultants because we're good referrals. With, fractional HR companies, we're great referrals. So I look for the holes that really kind of make up the full round, solid corporation. If I were to run a corporation that had all of these benefits for someone to be able to tap into, I have someone in my pocket everywhere for that I can refer in a second. And that creates value for me and the other person, because now I'm able to connect them to some other people. So I think building that type of community around you is essential so that you always have a connection or someone you can contact to say, do you know somebody who you can connect me to?
Yeah. So I love that. And it's very much not a transactional kind of thing. I mean, you're going into this thinking, how can I serve these people? And I love the question you asked about, who do I want to get to know me better, as opposed to thinking, I want to know that person better, but you kind of flip that on its head. That's really interesting. I hear, and I'm sure you've heard them too, a lot of coaches out there who talk about, really sort of rapid results and say, you're going to get 6-figure results in this 3-month or 6-month program. My experience is that really just isn't possible. If you want the true kind of transformation that many in our audience here and elsewhere really need in order to take their business to the next level, and the next level after that, and the next level after that, if that's what the coach or leader wants, it takes more time, and particularly because of this community piece. And so can you talk a little bit about that, about your thoughts about the kinds of offers that we see out there in the marketplace around these quick turnarounds, and what that means in terms of community building?
Yeah, I frown upon people that say to me, well, that's easy for you to say, Colleen. Like, you have a ton of people to market to. You have all these people that surround you. And I said, where do you think I started? When I was birthed out of corporate America to an entrepreneur, it was like I had a 2-year non-compete. I couldn't touch my book of clients, So I hit the ground running, starting from scratch to who do I already know? And I started very basic. Who is in my Outlook that I know? Who is in my Google Mail that I know? That, by the way, most people don't save as contacts. They get an email, but they don't save that person as a contact. So I started gathering, where do I know people? Who has been following me? Who are my friends? Who are friends of their friends? And I started combining all of these people and getting them into a list where I could start communicating with them to say, hey, I'm on a new adventure, and this is what I'm doing. And maybe we haven't talked in a while, or maybe we just text, 2 hours ago, but I want you to know that somewhere along the way we've been connected. And if you want to stay connected and follow my journey and see what I'm doing, and, let me know. And I kind of at that point gave people permission to say, yeah, I haven't talked to her in 2 years, but my gosh, I'd love to see what she's up to, or a chance for them to opt out. And I think we have to remember that it's not about everybody opting in, because it's no different than not, your flavor might be chocolate, my flavor might be vanilla, right? So we have to remember that you want the right people following you. So if you're walking around saying, yeah, I've got a list of 10,000 people, but you have a 2% open rate and a 0.09% engagement rate, I don't care if you have 10,000 people or not. I'd rather you have a list of 800 solid people with a, 80% open rate, and you've got a 50% engagement rate, because you're going to be more successful with that. So I think we kind of bloat up these numbers thinking that more followers is better. And yes, if you're a macro influencer, like, 25 million followers on Instagram, and you've been at this since, the last 15 years on YouTube, I understand that. I get that. But when you're building a community, no matter what it is, on TikTok, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, the people that are following you, engaging, liking, commenting, these are the people that have an interest in you somehow with what you do. So if you're extremely consistent, how you show up, where you show up, the types of summits you're on, the networking events you go to, how you speak online, the videos you upload, who you interview, whatever it looks like, who you coach, when you're extremely linear, as far as every time I show up, everyone knows what's going to come out of Colleen's mouth. It's probably going to be something about numbers, business, networking, or visibility. That's it. That's the only things I talk about. And God, right? He'll come into the equation quite a bit. That's on my podcast. It's on my workshops. It's in my retreats. It's at my one-day events. It's at everything I run. So I feel that the consistency is important, and not expecting things to be viral overnight, because we hear that word a lot. And it's like, oh, well, if I could just get one video to go viral. I'm like, I've been at this for a long time. I haven't had one viral video, 4,000 views, I guess, is a viral video for me. But my success isn't coming from there. It's just a way for people to continue seeing me as top of mind on all of these different channels. So you got to pick a lane. You really do. Are you a social media influencer and everything you do is behind the camera? So you're not really in person. nurturing those relationships, or are you nurturing those relationships through networking and showing up to conferences and meeting people and doing in-person and online networking? Are you on summits and stages? Like, that's the path I took, because I enjoy meeting people and getting to know them and spending time with them, and then seeing them in other circles and inviting them to some of the other circles I get invited to, because I'm like, come with me. There's some more people over here we haven't met yet. So again, you have to start with serving first.
Mm-hmm.
Before you can expect. I've met a lot of people that they're like, oh, well, that's too expensive. I don't want to invest in that, or it's too expensive. And I said, don't ever expect anybody to invest in you if you're never willing to invest in yourself or your business. That's just not how money works, and it's not how energy works. So we need to invest in ourselves first, and then we need to invest in other people by serving and giving a lot away to other people. And then they're like, wow, this person really knows a lot. I need them. And I think this is the area that they can help me.
Yeah.
And that's when they'll hire you. But it's not an overnight game. And any coach out there that says, I'll make you $10,000 in 6 months, I say, run as fast as you can the other way, because I've met those individuals and I've called them out before and had like a little side conversation and said, how do you guarantee that? If you're not on their business and not selling their products for them, how do you guarantee that? And they're like, well, if they don't get there in 6 months, then I continue coaching them. I'm like, so now you're giving away your services for free? Like, it just doesn't add up, right? That doesn't add up. So you're right. Like, stay away from people that say we can create all this and you can create a course and sell it overnight and make $2 million. It's like, would you sell your children that? No.
Good point. You know what I was hearing so clearly in that, Colleen, is just this idea of consistency and showing up and picking a lane. I think is an important one too. And so, having the right stage, one of the 4 pillars, they're all interwoven. But you mentioned all the social media channels, but we're not saying that you need a coach needs to be on all those channels all the time. That can be overwhelming, especially initially. So finding the right stage is about, as the kind of personality I have, what suits me best here. If I'm someone who's not great in front of a group of people, well, I can work on that and I can get better at it. But in the meantime, maybe doing something that's, recordings on YouTube where I can record it ahead of time. I can make it look the way I want it to, and then I can release it. Or I work on a smaller scale. Instead of having a group of people, I work one-on-one more. I mean, it's figuring all that out and finding the right platform or stage, but being consistent.
Well, and you got to find out, where are your people, right? So my people aren't on TikTok, so I don't spend a lot of time there. I love Instagram just because it's fun and I can do a reel or something fun every once in a while. I don't spend a lot of time promoting myself through Instagram to build relationships with my followers. I don't spend a lot of time there. Frankly, most of everyone that is my customer and consumer is on Facebook. So, and LinkedIn. So I spend the majority in those 2 platforms because of that, right? I go live in those platforms. I do videos in those platforms. So I think you're right. There's a place where you can create videos, especially if you don't want to get out there and network, and you can drive people to there. Now that we're able to stay home and have bare feet and stand in our offices, we spend a lot of time alone. And then we're able to get out there and meet people virtually like this. It has really expanded our reach. Definitely. So finding a tribe is just as important as creating one, because I'm part of my own tribe, but I also have other tribes of women that I'm part of that challenge me in different ways that, might be more about investments and real estate and other things that I'm interested in that I'm not discussing in my current, community that I'm in. So I think that we need different tribes to kind of keep a rounded place for our life, because some of those women might need, a tribe at church so that they have a spiritual tribe that they're with. And that might look like a different tribe than a work tribe that they have. So, and maybe there's a tribe that are with mothers where they're helping you, or empty nesters, and they're helping you get through, that change in life with your kids moving out. So I have known all my life my tribes change. So when you're attracting your tribe, you should definitely be very clear about the type of people, what they're doing, what it's about, right? That clarity. And then what type of women are you looking for in that tribe? I am looking for women that want to give back. I'm looking for women that want to teach. I'm looking for women that want visibility, that are looking to get on video, that want to be able to get themselves out there. I am not looking for the mean girl that's going to come in and be rude to everyone in the group, come in and just sell, steal everything, download all this stuff for free and then go use it for herself and promote herself. That's not what we do in this community. So I don't really even attract them because they're not hearing what I'm saying because they're looking for something different. Yeah. So I don't have those women in my community because I'm not attracting them. So when you're consistent, like you said, about who you want and what the tribe is about, you attract those specific people. So you have to address the problems. It's like number one, Kip, you know that. We have to address the problems, not just here's what I do and here's how I'm great, right? It's got to be more than that. It's like, I know you're struggling with getting the clarity in your business. The number one thing I find with that is that you don't really have it clearly lined up to understand when I meet someone, what happens next? Then how do I offer them something? Then how do I nurture them? And then what I do next? And then what do I, ask them to come into? Do I have a call? And what do I say on the call with them? And then I have all these services, but I don't really know what to do with them all or how much to charge or how to funnel people from one to the next. And that's where I come in and I say, well, that's kind of how my mind works. My mind works in numbers, and numbers show a lot of clarity and numbers have a lot of answers. So I always go to the numbers, and that's how I work. And that's how I help women. So when they're like, oh, that's my problem, I don't know any of that stuff. So Colleen is the person that can help me with that. So they're not looking at the 5 other business coaches that are my best friends, right? They're like, Colleen's the one. And then they're looking at my other friend that's all about the marketing piece of it and the website piece of it. I never talk about that, websites and marketing. She does. Yeah. Right. And she's a different type of business coach. We all focus on the numbers, but I talk about numbers because that's my favorite thing to do. Right. So if that makes sense to anyone out there, it's like you really got to find that grit of what you do and how that solves another person's problem.
Yes. And, the more that we micro niche, certainly initially, the easier that becomes. I think the problem is that a lot of coaches, especially when they're starting out, try to be all things to all people, and then you're no things to nobody. It just doesn't work that way. So, and I also love your reference to having what I consider micro communities. So it's not just, yes, we're entrepreneurs, we're business owners, but we also have lives outside of that. So whether that's sport, whether it's some kind of spiritual pursuit, whether it's a birding group, you pick them, but we're wired for relationships. We're wired for community. And the more we can understand that and then tap into what do I have that I feel others could benefit from, where would I find those people, start pulling people into us that are really truly part of our tribe. You, as I said, you're amazing at creating community, and one of the communities you've created I'd love to learn more about is the LEAP community. Can you tell us about that, what's involved and what you do in that?
And that really, as the pandemic hit, and like I said, I went around and we did all these in-person luncheons, and I realized I can't fly everywhere. It's very expensive and this isn't a good business plan. The numbers were not adding up. Let's just say that. So long before the pandemic in 2019, toward the end of the year, I took it online. So I had met all these women. They were now in my fold. And I said, hey, let's meet on Zoom. We can network. We don't even have to be in person. It's going to save you guys a lot of time. We can network virtually, meet each other, do some fun things. That's how we started. And then I launched a radio show. I launched a magazine. So another way to get them some visibility, but that's really all I had in the community: networking, a little visibility. And then the pandemic hit and ladies were struggling. And right away, my members of my community were like, let's just, get out there and offer all the help we can. So I just started doing these 3-week long. It took me, I was interviewing all my members, all day long, and they were giving free courses away, free help away, free consultations away. We were just trying to support the women of entrepreneurs out there that needed the help. And that kind of launched, like, what if we did a masterclass and you could teach what you do and someone could just come and learn for free? Or what if we did an interview and I spotlighted you and then you could talk about what you're working on, or you could drop links. And then that's kind of what really kind of organically morphed into the organization we have today. So it's 50% visibility for you as a member. It's all about you, your visibility as a startup or even as a seasoned entrepreneur. Visibility is the number one thing in business that helps you get known and get business. The other 50% is about the building, the actual masterminds, the building of the business, the free coaching that we offer in there. It's the master classes, it's the collaboration, it's the connecting, the networking. And we do most of all this online. We do have one that meets in Arizona once a month, but everybody else meets online. And we do, retreats once a year. So those are in person. We'll do some kind of in-person events once a year where people can come and network. But honestly, we do most of this online, and it's for the woman who is a business owner who's either launching or growing or is a seasoned business owner, because within that community, we have our seasoned entrepreneurs and are not so seasoned. So they're helping each other consistently, working together. There's resources for you to, hire what you need, whether it's marketing or SEO or website or content writing or, whatever it is, social media help, VAs, you name it. They're all within the organization. So it was built for them to work together, not for me to have it, necessarily as a funnel, which is a way a lot of communities are built. And I didn't build mine that way. I built mine specifically for the women to have this space at a very low price point for them to be able to collaborate with each other and be seen. We just love just spotlighting them on social media and in our newsletters every week, and putting their links and saying, hey, create a coffee call with this person, get on there and get to know them. Like, we're introducing you to new people every week. And we're also introducing you to new podcasts every week that maybe you haven't been a guest on. I am part of a lot of communities that offer speaking opportunities. And so I'm constantly bringing those to my members to say, here, we help you get visibility. We're going to give you that little boost to help you get what you need. Because as a starter, they just don't know how to get all that in the beginning. So we want them to work with speaking coaches. We want them to work with specialists that can help hone their message. We want them to get the visibility. So we offer all that throughout the community, and the women in the community offer even more than just the community itself, because they have podcasts and they have stages and they do summits. And so they're pulling from that same group of women to like, hey, I really could use you as a specialist on my next event. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's fabulous. It's fabulous. And you must all just feel completely jazzed up after sessions, because it's,
we just love each other. It's just fun, and we support each other and we love each other. And if I'm on there and I hear one of the ladies talk about how they're struggling with something, or, someone's sick in their family, or they lost someone, or, I'm the first one to go on and send them a card and let them know we're thinking about them and the community is behind them on what they're doing. And so I think it's important for us to be human first, because that's who we are. And that is my secret sauce to success. It's people like me because I like them, and I truly care about them, and I show that. And I believe when we are that way and just completely genuine, that we really win over people's trust and appreciation. And because I give it first, because I don't do anything unto another person I wouldn't want done unto me. And I just live that way. And that is what really, truly has helped me grow so successfully, is because I just really feel like when you have that in you and treat other people that way, you'd be amazed at how much they're not treated that way throughout their life. And they just really appreciate that. So that's just to me, 101.
Yeah. seems so fundamental and so basic, and yet it's
Yeah.
really not on the radar for too many coaches out there. So yeah, that's just beautiful. I find that just a beautiful perspective to take. I'm astonished that we've gone so far time wise, because there's so many things I'd love to ask, but I'll start to wrap things up a little bit now. And I have a feeling I'll know how you'll answer this question, but I'm just curious to know if there were, I'll say two things, if there are two key things that you could share with our audience around, these are really critical for creating, again, not just a community, but your community, your
Yeah.
tribe, your people. What would those two things be?
Yeah. So, number one, you have to be very clear about what is the community. Like, why would I need to join this community? I don't know about you, Kip, but you probably get a million invitations to join Facebook groups, and you're like, I don't even know why I would join this group, right? You don't know what it's about other than the name, right? And the LEAP community doesn't tell anybody, what the community is about. But I think when you explain it and you're very clear about this specific community is blank blank blank, we serve women of this age, or we serve men and women, going through this transition, whatever that is. There's groups out there that serve women that are moms, that their children are in cancer, and they are in treatment. So that's very specific, and the reason why I mention that is because you need to be that specific. Who are you looking for? So very, very, very clear on what this community is. So there's a problem. They're trying to do something. They're trying to get results for something. Is this community where they need to be to meet those people that can help them do that, or get what they need to get to where they're going, right? You would join a driver's ed if you were trying to figure out how to drive, and that would be the little group you would join. The next thing I would say is that it is so important for you, and I talked about this, to build relationships with people. Every single person that joins my community gets a card. I have like a welcome email that goes out, and everyone just kind of keeps it very topical, but there's stuff that's sent in the mail. I really think that we need to treat people always the way that we deserve to be treated. And when you do that and you create that loyalty within your community, they don't want to leave, because they feel so good there, and don't make it overwhelming to where women are like, oh my gosh, you have stuff every day. I couldn't possibly stop my life just to be part of this community. This community has to be a support to what they have going on in whatever it is that you're supporting them in their life. So make sure it's very clear that if you have several things going on, that they just need to choose what's right for them, what fits for them, and maybe make suggestions of the time that they should spend in there, what's going to be the most beneficial for them to start. But be very clear about what they do in the community, right? So what they should get into. And I see too many communities not really lay that out or are clear on that. So therefore, I don't participate, because I don't know how or what I'm supposed to do to participate. But I went to a chamber orientation as an example, and they laid out everything that you should be doing, the steps you should be taking, an ambassador that can help you work through it. And it started getting clearer to me, like, wow, this is really overwhelming, but now I understand how I should be approaching this. So again, make it easy for people to want to be in your community, and just love them, love them and show them all the good feels, and do what it is that you love, and you'll attract the other women that love the same stuff too.
Yeah.
For me anyway, I talk about women a lot, but there's men out there that need to be loved too.
True. Absolutely true. Thank you so much, Colleen. This has been absolutely amazing. And just before you go, I'd love to invite you to share with everyone your freebie.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So I did a double freebie this time. There's a PDF download. All you have to do is download it, and it's going to just give you 3 easy steps, like 1, 2, 3, how to create a community, right? And just the essential pieces to that. The next thing is going to be some videos of me along with some worksheets that are really like 5 myths that are keeping you stuck. Because I'm going to ask the question, Kip, if they wanted to create a community, why haven't they created it already? Because I didn't have all the solutions when I started. I just just knew the people I wanted to be around, and I started there. So again, I want them to be able to have the tools that this is stopping me from creating the community, but then the ease of understanding it really is this easy to create a community. Now go for it. And if you start kind of get self-sabotaging, here's some things to help you get through that. So kind of a double whammy of support on both bookends of getting the community started.
Beautiful. Thank you. It's so generous. And thank you again for taking the time for this interview today. It's been as value packed, as high vibe as I knew it would be. It's been just a delight. I know everyone's going to be thrilled with what they've learned from you today. So thank you.
Thank you, Kip. I'm so honored to be here. And now I just love it that we are like connected and get to stay connected from this point forward and just see where that grows.
Yeah, I can't wait to find out. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kip.